Hello, I'm Noah Farrell, and I'd like to start off by thanking the Jewish Federation of Cleveland for inviting me here to speak to you today. Sometimes I'm inspired by myself. I look at where I was 5 years ago, and I look at where I am now, and I could say that my story is quite inspirational. I'm very grateful for what I have now. You know the saying, it takes a village to raise a child? Well, in my case, it took a Jewish community to raise a Noah. I haven't had an easy life. My mother was Jewish and my father was not, but they were both drug and alcohol addicts. My mother and father got divorced at a young age, and my mother went off to live with her Alcoholics Anonymous sponsor, Ruth. My father got custody of me and my two older brothers, Aaron and Josh. We lived in a small apartment in Solon. Josh always looked out for me. He played sports and he got good grades. And he wanted me to play sports to stay out of trouble. And so I wrestled in middle school. Now, I only have a few moments in my life where I really felt somebody was proud of me. And one of those moments was at one of my wrestling meets. It was in Brush, and my mother was able to come to it. Now, at this point, nobody had ever come to one of my meets, and it was about halfway through the season. Now, at this wrestling meet, there weren't that many kids as small as me. So I won my first match by default. Then the second match, I won. I actually won, and I got an award for the quickest pin for the whole season. And while it was happening, I looked over to the stands, and I saw my mom, and I made eye contact with her. I just remember how proud she was of me, that I set out for a goal and I achieved it. And that's a feeling I want to hold on to forever. By the time I was 13, it was just me and my father. Josh had left off for college, and Aaron, he got into drugs and ended up in prison. So it was just me and my father when he was diagnosed with liver cancer. In the beginning, he used to set the alarm to wake me up for school. But eventually, as he got sicker, he stopped doing that. And I would just hang out at home all day taking care of him, and it was just me and my father. I stopped playing sports, and I didn't really go to school. I was what you would call a sketchy kid. I certainly didn't know what the Federation was at the time, but I did know that my father's hospice care was provided by an agency called Montefiore, and the people who came to take care of me also helped take care of my father too. They would bring us food because they saw that we didn't have any. That meant a lot to me. Then my father passed away, and I went to live with my mom. Now, she had been clean from drugs and alcohol for several years, and she really wanted to make sure that I had a Jewish education. So in my 8th grade year, she enrolled me in the Agnon School, which is now known as the Mandel Jewish Day School, another Federation partner. So one day in school, I wasn't feeling so well, and I called her up about an hour after school started, and I told her, I said, "Mom, I'm not feeling so well, could you pick me up?" She said, "Yeah, honey, I'll be right there. Don't worry, I'll take care of you." I remember waiting in this little dim lit room, the nurse's office, and I was staring at the window. I remember looking through the slits in the window, waiting for her to show up. Soon, lunch passed, and the buses came. She never showed up. Once a week, we had these therapy appointments through Belfair, also supported by the Federation. Now, the therapist would come to Ruth's apartment, and we would have our normal meeting, and we would talk about my week and everything. But this week was different. This week was more of an intervention for my mom. And the therapist asked me, "Noah, we know what happened this past week at school when your mom didn't come to pick you up when you weren't feeling well. How did that make you feel?" And I told her it made me feel abandoned. I thought my mom was using again. Those are my words. And my mom and Ruth had an agreement that if there were any drugs or alcohol being used in the house, then you couldn't be there. So my mom packed her things up and she left. A couple days later, I was awoken by my brother Josh. He was at my bedside, and he was crying. I remember sitting next to him, and he grabbed my hand. I'll never forget how tightly he squeezed my hand. He was the one who told me that my mom had passed away. I'd only been at Agnon for a few months, and the kids didn't even really know me that well. But everyone from my class came to my mother's funeral, and that meant so much to me. At the funeral, a woman stopped me. Her name was Raquel Haas. Her son was in school with me, and her husband was Agnon's board chair. She gave me her number and said, "Noah, if you ever need anything, please feel free to give me a call." And it took me a while to get back into school and start going back to classes, but once I did, I wanted to do something good for myself. It was really the kids who got me through. They stood up for me and they stood by me. I wanted to graduate with them, so I came up with a project, or Agnon came up with a project for me to complete, and if I were to complete it, I would graduate. And I was able to do it. I graduated. At that point, I didn't want to leave the Jewish community. I didn't want to go back to public school. I called Raquel and I asked her if it was possible for me to go to Fuchs Mizrachi, which is another Federation partner, and she helped me. I met with Rabbi Avery Joel, and they found funding for me to attend. They gave me tutoring so I could learn to read, write, and speak Hebrew like the other high school students. They held me accountable for my actions. They didn't let me fail. Every time I fell down, they picked me up again. They also found a Jewish family that I could live with. Thank you, Brian and Cheryl Fox, for opening up your homes. For opening up your home and your family to me. These past 2 years have been the best 2 years of my life. And I want to say thank you. Life was happening. Good things were happening, and I wanted to know why. I was looking for something material, but I found something I couldn't touch. It was my faith in God. I was on my first trip to Israel with my youth group, NCSY, and the Federation helped me get there. I had never seen the Kotel before. I remember it very clearly. It was a feeling I had never had before. I saw the others doing mincha, the afternoon prayer, but I didn't have my English sitter, and I wanted to really make this moment count. So I went over to the wall. I remember this very clearly. I went over to the wall, and I closed my eyes, and I put my hand on the wall, and I said, I thought about my parents, and I felt my mom there, and I felt her crying these tears of joy, and I felt how proud she was. And it was way more than it was at my wrestling match. It was so much more than that. This was something that was just coming out of me. I felt her crying these tears, and I started crying these tears. It was like I was crying my mother's tears. And during life, when things get hard, there are these moments to hold on to, like what I hold on to with my mom at the Kotel. And these moments just tell you to keep going. Now, if you focus on the good things in life and be optimistic, then things will go your way. Good things don't happen when you're down all the time. And it took me a while to realize that. To this community, I'd like to say that not every kid is like me. Some kids have it better, some kids have it worse. But everyone could use the support of the Jewish organizations that have helped me. No matter how hard or easy life is, these organizations change lives. These organizations changed my life. They've played a role in my life from the very beginning when things were going downhill all the way till now when I'm off to yeshiva in Israel. I plan to go to a Jewish college and lead a Jewish life and raise a Jewish family, all because the Jewish Federation of Cleveland and this Jewish community, all because you guys have stood by me. And I'd like to inspire the Jewish future and help people like me to make sure they end up on a similar path as I did. Because it's possible for this to happen. It's possible for you to lose both of your parents at a young age, and it's possible for you to live a courageous life of happiness and joy, even though bad things happen to you. Me, of all people, have had a life that defines bad things happening to you. I got dealt a bad hand of cards, but it's how you choose to play the hand, how you choose to lead your life, how you choose to live. If not for the Federation, if not for Jewish Cleveland, I would not be able to realize I could have a good life and help others. Good is possible, and I could lead a life of a normal person. Better yet, I could lead a life of an extraordinary person, and we all can. Thank you.